April 14, 2023. Walkingstick. Via Frank 26. The goal of what they're doing right now is to establish security and stability for the exchange rate for the national currency. There are many mechanisms to bring stability to the IQD. One is to change the exchange rate against the dollar. As you can see, that's exactly what they're doing. Via Frank 26. It's absolutely no secret. There are no secrets of monetary reform any longer. It's all being laid out step by step exactly as the sequential effects need to be presented to the citizens in order for them to be successful with them. They have to tell and explain and educate the Iraqi citizens with every detail of the monetary reform, and that is a process that is occurring right now because it must not fail at this juncture with the citizens. Claire. The U.S. Treasury announces its readiness to assist the Iraqi central bank in stabilizing the exchange rate. Quote, the U.S. Treasury Department showed, on Wednesday, great flexibility and willingness to assist the Central Bank of Iraq in achieving stability in the exchange rate of the dollar against the dinar. Nader from. The governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, Ali al-Awlaq, confirmed on Thursday that Iraq is on alert to control the dinar exchange rate. Frank 26. Governor of the bank, Iraq is on alert to control the exchange rate of the dinar. The CBI Gov puts the Iraqi citizens on high alert for an announcement of a new exchange rate. Iraq Boots on the Ground report. Firefly, Trade Bank of Iraq is doing a campaign blitz on television today saying all their transactions will be done through electronic platforms and through their ATMs. They also emphasize strongly that the ATMs will only have dinars in them from this point onward in accordance with Iraq's new national currency. Marx. I don't know if this is our weekend, but there is an excellent chance this is our weekend. There is a tremendous amount of chatter that it is. We are right on it, that I do not doubt. None of my sources are telling me June or 2024. I was already told that misinformation was going to be thrown out there. We know it's coming. We know it's happening. Via PDK, article, Syria's Assad returns to Arab fold after years of isolation. Why is this one important? We were told before Iraq RV'd we would see peace break out in the Middle East. And for the most part it has. Now even in Syria we have peace. MNT Goat. I am going out on a limb to say that by June 2023 we could see this reinstatement of the dinar. I am using solid factual data from the articles. Article quote, the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq Ali al-Awlaq, on Thursday, that Iraq is on alert to adjust the exchange rate of the dinar. He is talking about the stabilization of the program rate first with the help of the U.S. Treasury, then the reinstatement with the help of the IMF and World Bank. Folks, it can't get any better. Militia man. We had some really awesome news. The finance minister and the Central Bank of Iraq, they're in Washington and they're having meetings with the IMF, World Bank. One of their topics is the stability of the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar. Very telling signs. We're in a very, very good place. Obviously, if they're talking about the exchange rate stability of the Iraqi dinar, we're probably pretty sure we're not talking about the official rate of 1,310 because they didn't do it at 1,166, 1,182, 1,190 or 1,460. So why in the world would they be having meetings at this level at this time for an exchange rate to be stabilized at 1,310? It doesn't make any sense. The Iraqi Trade Bank decides to adopt the dinar only in its electronic financial transactions. I would have to say that's pretty big because one of the key components that is a requirement of the IMF is to cease multi-currency practices, and here you have a state bank, the Iraqi Trade Bank, decide to adopt the dinar. Therefore it's starting to look like they're getting ready to only use the dinar, and that bodes well for us. Everybody should be really pretty pumped up and happy. Judy Byington. 3 RV excerpts from the Restored Republic via GCR, update as of Friday. By Judy Byington. Global Currency Reset. By Monday 10th of April the GCR had been fully funded in Dubai. 2 groups of sovereign buyers started contracts with various trusts and large file sellers. Rumor was that funds have been paying out to various entities since Monday 10th of April, and one higher tier was expecting to be liquid on Friday 14th of April. On that same Monday, 10th of April, Chinese bond holders received their Q cards from HSBC, from 12 versions of Chinese bonds. They would have access to 1% of their funds on their Q cards also by Friday 14th of April. None but a select few knew the exact timing, nor when Tier 4B, us, the Internet Group, would receive their exchange/redemption appointments. Bruce, the new U.S. Treasury dollar will be announced next Monday 17th of April. At least 3 to 4 sources say Tier 4B will receive notification Friday or Saturday. 15th of April and be able to go into appointments 3 hours later. The new U.S. Treasury dollar will be announced next Monday 17th of April. Bond holders will have access to their funds at 4 a.m. on Tuesday morning 25th of April. Wednesday 12th of April TNT Tony, Iraqi citizens caught using the dollar would be subject to a 50,000 dinar fine. All banks in Iraq would be open this weekend, and that has never happened before. Thursday 13th of April Marks, militiaman. On Wednesday 12th of April Nader from Iraq said that they were broadcasting on TV that the Iraqi people needed to prepare for sudden price changes that reflected the new rates, and to be ready for those price changes in the markets. On that same Wednesday 12th of April the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq Ali al-Laq and the Iraqi finance minister Taif Sami were in Washington meeting with the World Bank, U.S. Treasury and IMF. Bruce, the restitution allowance would kick in on the 4th week of April. Thursday 13th of April Bruce, the big call universe. Last Saturday 8th of April the Street Germain Trust was opened for the first time in history and the funds in it, containing 3,600 zeros, and put for use into trust accounts. A fund called Dubai 2 was also opened. On Tuesday, the Rodriguez Trust was opened. The funds have been moving around to various accounts. Over $6 billion in student loans were forgiven afternoon today, that's part of GESARA. In Canada Chase banks were forgiving credit card debts. Tier 4B could go Friday or Saturday. 15th of April. On Wednesday 12th of April some people were trying to access 1,460 boxes of Mexican bonds in Reno. That caused a delay in Tier 4B going. On Wednesday 12th of April Iraq was paying out certain workers in revalued Iraqi dinar. Iraq is opening their banks on Friday 14th of April right after morning prayer because they are bringing in the new in-country rate on the dinar. At the redemption center they may offer us the contract rate, but if they don't, you can ask for it. Even ZIM holders can get a contract rate on the dinar. Bond holders will have access to their funds at 4 a.m. on Tuesday morning 25th of April. At least 3 to 4 sources say Tier 4B will receive notification Friday or Saturday. 15th of April and be able to go into appointments 3 hours later. Redemption Center staff will work all day Friday and Saturday. 15th of April. Tier 4B rates are very high. On Social Security, you get paid on your birthday day. They will be paying the first and second wed will be paid on second wed of the month. The third and fourth wed will be paid on the third wed. There will be an increase in SS of at least $1,000 a month. The significant restitution allowance for age 62 and older will be paid on the fourth wed of the month in a lump sum amount in direct deposit to your bank account. Those aged 21 to 62 cannot stop working, but will be paid restitution allowance monthly for 10 years. You have to be working 15 years in order to receive restitution allowance. The fiat USD is dead internationally, only good in Canada, US and Mexico. We will be using fiat money for another 3 to 4 months. The new US Treasury dollar will be announced next Monday 17th of April. Iraqi news. Iraq economic news highlights. Al-Bawi is likely to continue to recover the dinar against the dollar, with the approaching approval of the budget information, Baghdad. Political analyst Hazem al-Bawi suggested, on Friday, that the dollar will continue to decline and collapse against the dinar, as the timing of approving the financial budget for the current year approaches. Al-Bawi said, in a statement to Al-Maluma, that this continuous decline in the ceiling of the price of the American currency in the local stock exchange, especially in the capital, proves to the people that the political and economic decision-maker in power is more serious in the task of dealing with this crisis that has affected the people in recent years due to the chaotic politics. The criticism followed by the government of Mustafa al-Kazemi. He added that the people are the asset of any government, and that the Sudanese cabinet, if it wants to write for itself success, is required to prove its credibility before it, and thus solve suffocating economic crises, most notably the dollar, as well as housing, unemployment, services, and others. He pointed out that the Cabinet's progress with a clear-cut scientific service program makes the people the first line of defense in the face of any political campaign, whether internal or external, to which the government is exposed in the foreseeable future. The stability of the dollar exchange rate in the local market today, Friday 14, April 2023 1308, economical number of readings, 67 Baghdad, Nina. The exchange rate of the dollar in the local market witnessed stability today, Friday. The selling price was recorded at 146,000 dinars per $100, while the purchase price reached 145,000 dinars per $100, which is the same price as yesterday, Thursday. Democrat. Speeding up the approval of the budget will reduce the differences between the center and the region. Democrat. Accelerating the approval of the budget will reduce the differences between the center and the region. Information, Baghdad. The representative of the Kurdistan Democratic Party, Sharif Suleiman, affirmed, on Friday, that his party stands by the government and its directions, especially the speedy approval of the budget, pointing out that this would reduce the differences between the center and the region. Suleiman said, in a statement to Al-Maluma, that some paragraphs of the budget will witness amendments before proceeding with its legislation in the House of Representatives, especially since most of the blocs agree on the speed of its passage and its entry into force. He added, the Kurdistan Democratic Party stands by speeding up the approval of the budget, and this matter would reduce the differences between the center and the region regarding the budget and revenues and solve many problems between Baghdad and Erbil. And he indicated that the Democratic Party stands by the government, its directions and projects, and is awaiting the approval of the budget in order to guarantee the rights of all the Iraqi people with all its components and the reconstruction of cities affected by terrorism to ensure the return of its people. Link International Monetary Fund, growth in the Middle East will slow to 3.1% in 2023. Arab and International Economy News. Baghdad. The director of the Middle East and Central Asia Department at the International Monetary Fund, Jihad Azhar, said during a press conference today, Thursday, that the growth of the gross domestic product of the Middle East and North Africa will slow to 3.1% in 2023. He added that growth in oil exporting countries in the region will slow to 3.1% in 2023 from 5.7% in 2022. The director of the Middle East and North Africa Department at the International Monetary Fund, Jihad Azhar, said earlier that the oil markets will have the greatest impact on the Gulf economies in 2023, pointing to the strength of the economies of the countries of the region compared to the global economy. Azhar pointed out that economic diversification is an important element for the growth of the economies of the Gulf states. He revealed that combating inflation is a necessity for the economies of oil-importing countries. The governor of the Central Bank of Iraq participates in the meetings of the World Bank and the Monetary Fund in Washington and confirms his endeavor to strengthen the status of national banks. Baghdad. Iraq today. The governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, Ali Mohsen Ismail, confirmed that the purpose of restructuring the Iraqi banking sector is to strengthen and develop government banks, considering that strengthening and restructuring these banks represents a real rebuilding of the banking sector in Iraq. Al-Awlaq mentioned during the participation of an Iraqi delegation in the meetings of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund in the U.S. capital, Washington, that the assets of government banks constitute more than 80% of the Iraqi banking sector. While the governor revealed that the central bank has a program to restructure government banks and has been working on it for years in cooperation with relevant international organizations, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, stressing the existence of harmony between the Iraqi government and the central bank in the process of reforming the banking sector. And he continued, that there are several possibilities related to the restructuring of government banks, as these possibilities depend on the results of analyses of the financial statements of some banks that have the problem of final accounts, adding, that all the possibilities involved in merger and acquisition exist, and that any formula that is useful, we will study it with the competent authorities and organizations. International, which has long experience and expertise in this field. It is noteworthy that the governor held several bilateral meetings on the sides of the Iraqi delegation's participation in the meetings of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund that took place in Washington, D.C. Central Bank, we have a program to restructure government banks. Information, Baghdad. The governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, Ali Mohsen Ismail, confirmed today, Friday, the existence of a program to restructure government banks. The media office of the central bank stated in a statement received by the agency, the governor of the central bank, Ali Mohsen Ismail, stated during the participation of an Iraqi delegation in the meetings of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund in the American capital, Washington, that the assets of government banks constitute more than 80% of Iraqi banking sector. He added, the central bank has a program to restructure government banks and has been working on it for years in cooperation with relevant international organizations, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, stressing the existence of harmony between the Iraqi government and the central bank in the process of reforming the banking sector. And he continued, there are several possibilities related to the restructuring of government banks, as these possibilities depend on the results of analyses of the financial statements of some banks that have the problem of final accounts, and international organizations that have long experience in this field. The statement indicated that Al-Alaq held many bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the Iraqi delegation's participation in the meetings of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund that took place in the U.S. capital, Washington. Al-Alaq, the assets of government banks constitute more than 80% of the Iraqi banking sector. April 14, 2023. Earth News, the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, Ali Mohsen Ismail, confirmed today, Friday, the existence of a program to restructure government banks. The media office of the central bank stated, in a statement received by Earth News Agency, that the governor of the central bank, Ali Mohsen Ismail, stated, during the participation of an Iraqi delegation in the meetings of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund in the American capital, Washington, that the assets of government banks constitute more than 80% of the sector. Iraqi banker. He added, the central bank has a program to restructure government banks and has been working on it for years in cooperation with relevant international organizations, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, stressing the existence of harmony between the Iraqi government and the central bank in the process of reforming the banking sector. And he continued, there are several possibilities related to the restructuring of government banks, as these possibilities depend on the results of analyses of the financial statements of some banks that have the problem of final accounts, adding that all possibilities involving merger and acquisition exist, and that any formula that is useful we will study with the competent authorities and international organizations that have long experience in this field. The statement indicated that Al-Alaq held several bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the Iraqi delegation's participation in the meetings of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund that took place in Washington, D.C.